Once upon a time, a nervous guy in flared jeans stood trembling on a brightly lit stage. Ant and Dec dragged out the longest pause in British TV history. A nation held its breath, fists clenched around Nokia phones, screaming at their CRT screens. This was Pop Idol. This was Saturday Night Religion. Families huddled together, texting frantically as if the universe depended on whether Will or Gareth would win. Pop Idol wasn't just a show, it was a national fever dream. Raw voices. Real stakes. Judges who didn't hold back.
Good. Wasn't blown away.
No sob stories, no branding exercises. Just the belief that an awkward guy from Reading could become a star. Fast forward to today. Talent shows feel like karaoke on steroids. Every contestant comes pre-packaged with a tragic backstory, polished by PR teams and spat out by algorithms. The magic, digitized. The risk, scripted. The soul, outsourced to a brand consultant. What killed the phenomenon that once united a nation? Let's rewind. It's 2001. The internet still screeches when you log on. People are buying CDs. Reality TV is in its awkward teenage phase, still figuring itself out. And then Pop Idol appears, like a glitter-covered comet blazing across the cultural sky. Created by Simon Fuller, yes, the Spice Girls guy, Pop Idol was Britain's first true talent competition for the 21st century. The concept was simple. Find the UK's best undiscovered singer, put them on TV, let the public decide their fate. And for a moment, it felt like lightning in a bottle. The first season had everything. Raw talent, emotional breakdowns, unintentional comedy, and Simon Cowell being, well, Simon Cowell. 14 million people tuned in for the finale. 14 million. That's not just good ratings. That's national obsession territory. It felt spontaneous. Anything could happen. A contestant could be amazing, or they could totally choke. Either way, people cared. They talked about it at work, at school, in the queue at Sainsbury's. Pop Idol made stars out of nobodies and gave people something to root for, something that felt real. Will Young, the slightly awkward guy with the steady voice, won.
On the boogie, help me now, I just can't.
Gareth Gates, the boy band Dreamboat with the stammer, came second, but arguably became even more famous.
Gareth Gates, what you've done today is unbelievably brave.
Even Darius Dinesh, who auditioned with Britney Spears and somehow turned it into Shakespeare, became a name everyone knew. Pop Idol didn't just launch careers, it defined an era. Nobody had media training. Nobody thought about TikTok clips or PR strategies. It was unfiltered, sincere chaos, full of tension, mistakes, and unexpected twists. And that's what made it magical. And the audience, they still believed in talent. Fan forums lit up with passionate discussions after every episode.
What I'd like to know is there's obviously a lot more talent.
Contestants received fan mail. People flooded the phone lines to vote for their favorites. It felt like your vote actually meant something. The judges didn't hold back either. Simon Cowell delivered savage one-liners that kids repeated on school playgrounds. Pete Waterman visibly lost the will to live. And Nikki Chapman, she kept things just human enough. They were characters, sure, but not yet caricatures. But the magic of spontaneity has an expiration date. Slowly but surely, the first cracks began to show. By the time Season 2 rolled around in 2003, something felt off. The novelty was fading. The format was still intact, glossy stage, emotional arcs, but the soul, that was slipping. Contestants didn't quite pop like they used to. The judges looked like they were running on autopilot. And the public, they were starting to tune out. Michelle McManus won that season. A powerful voice with genuine presence. But the media didn't care. Instead of celebrating her talent, tabloids attacked her appearance. Too fat to be famous. That was the narrative. It was cruel, but also revealing. This wasn't about music anymore. Her win, Bittersweet. She got the title, but also a tidal wave of judgment. The system claimed to reward voice, but only if it fit the right package. And Michelle wasn't alone. You could feel the shift everywhere. Contestants were becoming characters. Narratives were sculpted. The audience was voting on arcs, not voices. Talent became subplot to storytelling. What started as a singing competition was mutating into a reality machine. Editing suites became writers' rooms. Sob stories replaced rehearsals. Sequins and soft lighting masked manipulation. The magic was wearing off. Audience interest was fading. The formula felt worn out. But Pop Idol's real ending wouldn't be sealed until the power struggle between its creators played out. Why? It wasn't just the X Factor's arrival, though that played a role. The truth is, Pop Idol was already bleeding relevance. Ratings were slipping. The format was tired. It had burned bright, fast, and brief. But instead of evolving organically, it was hijacked by bigger egos and bigger ambitions. But this was just the beginning, because what came next made Pop Idol look like Shakespeare in the Park. If Pop Idol's cancellation was a quiet funeral, the events that followed were the messy, drawn-out custody battle, and at the center of it all, two men named Simon. Let's rewind. 2003. Pop Idol ends after just 2 seasons. On paper, it made no sense. It was a smash. It broke viewing records. It minted instant stars. So why kill the golden goose? The answer: ego, empire, and a lawsuit. Simon Cowell, sharp-tongued judge turned unlikely sex symbol, saw a bigger opportunity. He didn't want to star in someone else's format anymore. He wanted to own it, enter the X Factor, his baby. But there was a problem. Pop Idol wasn't just a TV show. It was intellectual property, and it belonged to Simon Fuller. Yes, 2 Simons. Like a reality TV Cain and Abel. If Cain wore high-waisted trousers and Abel invented the Spice Girls. So when Cowell launched the X Factor in 2004, Fuller sued. Hard. The claim? That Cowell's new show was a ripoff. And honestly, it kind of was. Same structure, same public voting, same judge tension. Just with a facelift and extra pyrotechnics. The lawsuit dragged on for years. A simmering power struggle dressed up in legalese. Meanwhile, Cowell did what he does best. Turn the drama into PR.
That was a great audition.
He became the face of Saturday night television. And Pop Idol, it was locked in a rights limbo. Too legally messy to resurrect, too dated to reboot. That legal mess killed any chance of a revival. ITV, seeing the success of X Factor and the tighter editorial grip it offered, shifted all their investment into the new format. It wasn't just about popularity, it was about control. Pop Idol wasn't just canceled, it was buried under paperwork. And here's the twist. While Cowell's X Factor soared, Fuller tried to strike back. He focused on the US version of American Idol, which he still controlled. But even that eventually buckled under the same pressures. Overexposure, manipulation, and audience fatigue. Meanwhile, former Pop Idol winners were left stranded. Michelle McManus, dropped by her label. Will Young, forced to reinvent himself to escape the talent show stigma. Gareth Gates became a punchline. The machinery moved on. They were never meant to last. They were format collateral damage. Even Cowell, in interviews, admitted that Pop Idol was too soft. Not enough drama. Not enough control. What he really wanted wasn't just talent. It was total editorial dominance. On X Factor, he could manipulate every aspect. Who wins, who cries, and who goes viral. On Pop Idol, there was still some chaos. Still some realness. And that made it dangerous. In other words, Pop Idol died not just because it was too real, but because it lacked the editorial control and marketability that Simon Cowell craved. It wasn't about sincerity versus spectacle. It was about ownership, legal leverage, and the ability to manipulate every beat of the show. After Pop Idol and the X Factor had peaked, what followed was saturation. Too many shows, too many tiers, too little substance.
George,
At first, people still tuned in for the spectacle, but soon the formula showed its seams. By the late 2000s and 10s, viewers knew what was coming. A sob story, a big note, a standing ovation, maybe a confetti shower, and then nothing. No real career, no real follow-up, just another face in a clip forgotten before the next episode. The The result? A credibility crisis. The shows lost their sense of discovery and started feeling more like performance factories. Contestants weren't launching careers, they were fueling the content machine. Labels stopped investing. Winners vanished into digital silence. And the audience changed too. Platforms like TikTok and YouTube trained viewers to sniff out inauthenticity. Overproduced sincerity became cringe. We didn't cry anymore. We commented and we scrolled. Contestant breaks down. The clip goes viral on TikTok with the caption, "Me after one bad meeting." Meanwhile, a few brave former contestants started sharing what it was really like. The manipulation, the lack of control, the burnout. The shows weren't built to support artists.
No. You've got a really bad attitude, sweetheart.
They were built to create moments, viral, emotional, disposable moments. So here we are. Talent shows still exist, technically, but they're not events, they're leftovers. Once the center of Saturday night, now reduced to background noise. Too scripted to be real, too tired to be exciting. And yet the shadow of Pop Idol remains, in every overproduced montage, in every recycled arc, in every desperate bid to go viral. What began as a stage for talent ended as a mirror for the industry itself, shiny, hollow, and painfully out of tune. Before we fade to black, let's revisit the question that's been quietly humming in the background this whole time. Can Pop Idol be saved? Probably not. It was a product of its time, a simpler, more hopeful era when TV didn't feel the need to emotionally manipulate you every 5 minutes. Bringing it back now would feel like trying to reboot MSN Messenger in the age of Snapchat. Nostalgic? Sure. Necessary? Not really, but maybe that's okay. Maybe Pop Idol's legacy isn't that it lived long, but that it lived well. That for a brief golden moment, we believed talent alone was enough. That an awkward guy from Reading with a steady voice and zero branding strategy could win the nation's heart. And if there's any lesson in all of this, it's that sincerity, even if short-lived, leaves a mark. You can polish, repackage, and rebrand all you want. But authenticity, that's not something you can manufacture. Pop Idol didn't just start a trend, it reminded us what made the trend worth starting in the first place. It proved that real, unscripted human moments, no matter how messy, could resonate more than any glitzy production ever could.
You said, I am a police officer.
So let's not mourn what Pop Idol became. Let's remember what it was. A one-of-a-kind burst of genuine connection in a medium that thrives on the artificial. Cue credits, fade out, and maybe let that confetti cannon go off one last time. Oh, and if you enjoy diving into the glittery rise and cringe-worthy fall of Pop Idol, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's free, unlike music industry integrity. Drop a like, leave a comment with your favorite forgotten talent show contestant, and I'll see you in the next deep dive into nostalgia and nonsense.